everybody, it's John from Indian Cine-MANIAC with another 10-minute movie review. Okay, so we're on a roll here. We did Chak De India, and then we did Stree, and those were based on viewer polls. And this one I'm going to do is one that I picked. I am picking 2022's Drishyam 2. Big fan of the first film. In fact, we actually reviewed that on the big show, and my brother Ralph and I, on Cue It Up with the Q Brothers, did a trailer reaction to Drishyam 2. This is not the Malayalam, I don't know if I'm saying that right, versions, although a lot of you say I should watch those, so I might take a look at those. I love the first Drishyam with Akshaye Devgan and Taboo. I mean, just a great cast. Loved the movie. But before we get into the review, and there will be spoilers in this review. Now, this is a pretty recent movie, so if you haven't seen it, don't watch this because we're gonna talk about spoilers. So I usually wait till the end to do this, but since the data shows that you're not sticking around till the end, I'm gonna start doing this at the beginning. So if you've watched these shows, you watch our other channel, and you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and smash the like button. And yes, it really does make a difference in the algorithm. Before we begin, I decided on this one to do a little bit different. I'm going to bring in a special guest because I know he loved Drishyam, the first one, as much as I did. So I was curious what he thought, and I wanted to bring him on. Now, this is probably going to be more than 10 minutes because I'm bringing someone on. So we'll call it a 10 to 15-minute movie review. Okay? Fair enough? Okay? So please give a big round of applause to my guest from Cue It Up on the Q Brothers and Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast and Indian Cine-MANIACs, my brother, Ralph Quachusi. Ralph, welcome to my little 10-minute review. Thanks for taking the time.
I hope it is. Is it actually 10 minutes? Or is
well, I already explained. In the
10-ish
because I'm bringing someone on. It's going to be between 10 and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now, I did say that you and I on the big show we watched Drishyam, and we also watched. We did a trailer reaction to Drishyam 2 on Cue It Up. Right. So I'm going to put those both at the end that people can link to both those episodes.
Okay.
So the last two movies I've done, which was Chak De India and Stree, were based on viewer polls, sports movie and comedy.
Right.
This one I picked on my own because I love Drishyam. I wanted to see this, and I know that you loved the first one, so I wanted to bring you on.
Well, and I really enjoy the actor, the lead actor. You know his name. What's his name?
Akshaye Devgan.
Akshaye Devgan. I just watched Runway 34, which we may talk about on the big show. I wanted to do that with you, but we kind of wanted to save that for the whole group because I think that's a fun one.
Well, the group said they wanted to watch that one.
Right. So we said, okay, let's do Drishyam 2 since we like the first one so much, and the trailer looked really interesting.
Yeah. And I do like this actor. In fact, I just did a few movies ago. I did Singham Returns that he was the lead in.
Yeah.
So he's great.
Well, he directed Runway 34.
Oh, he did. Yeah, I know he directs, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. And you'll be amazed at some of the things he did in it.
Okay. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay. Well, that's all. We'll save it for the big show.
Yeah.
Now, I also explained this movie came out in 2022. So this is a relatively new movie, but I explained to everybody there's going to be spoilers. We have to talk about spoilers in this movie. Okay? So I've already told people, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this. And just off the top, I'm going to say a few things. First of all, it was directed by Abhishek Pathak. The original director of the first one was Nishikant Kamat. He actually died right before they announced this sequel. I think it was intended for him to direct it. In fact, at the beginning, they dedicate the film to him. I don't usually call out the writer unless it's the director who writes it, but I want to call out the writer on this one. His name was Jitu Joseph, because the writing on this was deserves to be called out. And the cast, most of the cast returned from the one from 7 years ago. Akshaye Devgan, Taboo, Ralph, Taboo, Sharia, Saran, Ishita Duda, Mrunal Jadhav, Rajat Kapoor, Kamlesh Sawant, who's the evil cop, who was the only one who got it right in the first one.
Right.
And he's still a jerk.
Right.
And a new character, Akshaye Khanna, as the new IG. He's got the role of that Taboo had in the first one.
Super cop.
The super cop. We talked about that in the trailer reaction, who I thought was great. So first impression, Ralph, what'd you think of the film?
I enjoyed it. I have some questions about it, and some of the I kind of figured out the twist pretty early on that
you did,
that the DNA was not going to be the kid's DNA. So I was trying to. I knew that was going to happen. You just knew there was no way they were going to give it up like that. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was, basically it's just a continuation of the same one. I was a little confused because a couple characters popped up that I'm going, did I miss something from the first film of these? But then it wraps up with the explanation that happens.
Right.
The exposition that the guy playing the writer, is he an actual writer? Is that somebody well known in India? I wonder.
That I don't know. Nothing that I read said anything about that.
Okay, because he kind of, and we can explain it in 8 minutes from now. The motivation of that writer coming to the police station. I'm trying to figure that out too. So anyway,
why he went there?
Why he went there to do all this? I don't know what his purpose for that was.
Well, I think he figured it out. He figured out what the lead character. I can't even. What was the lead character's name? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this.
Oh, you got.
What was his name?
You got me.
Oh my God!
I'll look it up.
Yeah, please look it up.
Keep talking. I'll look.
So what I think happened was he realized that everything that he had done with the book was to set up his alibi, basically.
Right.
And he had figured it out and let the cops know that this is what was happening. And, he realized that he was guilty, but there's nothing they could do about it. So he was letting the cops know that. And that scene, the way that scene played out in the police station, and it kept intercutting in the courtroom, I loved it. Now, did you get his name? What's his name? I can't even remember. Vijay. Jeez, I can't believe I forgot that. So I kind of had the same reaction, but I have to be honest, I didn't have it figured out. In fact,
the only thing I had figured out was the DNA wasn't going to be his.
Well, I figured
the boy.
Yeah, based on the twist of the first one, there was somehow gonna I was thinking, okay, there's gonna be some way they're gonna switch the bones or something. But I still didn't know, because he seemed dead to rights, and nothing he had done prior to that last hour or so made you think this was all mapped out.
What you end up remembering is this is 7 years later,
right?
So he had a long time to set all this up, and all that exposition at the end, and the characters that I was like, where did this person come from?
Right.
That was all the exposition explaining how he befriended the grave. Now, this is the question I have. He befriended the grave robber.
Yeah.
Not the grave robber. The guy who became a grave robber.
Who ran the cemetery.
Ran the cemetery.
Yeah.
And he befriended the security guard who wanted to get into acting at the school that the DNA samples of the bones ended up
at the forensic area. Yeah.
So couldn't they still get him for grave robbing? I mean, they have a guy that robbed a grave. Right? You start breaking this down, and you start thinking of the details.
Yeah, but they didn't know. I mean, they didn't know that happened. They don't know where it came from.
Because he wrote it in the book, it could just be the book. I mean, didn't the writer say everything he said in the book is what happened?
But he wasn't specific where he got those bones or whatever. So, I mean, I guess.
Maybe, yes, he didn't give the guy's name.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, let me just start at the beginning. I thought it was a brilliant move to set up the beginning the way they did. With the
guy
shootout that happens, that you're watching this going, how does this relate?
Right.
And then you realize it's happening on the same night that he buried him in the police station.
Well, they did two things at the beginning. During the credits, they flash back to everything that happened in the first film with the Drishyam song going, which I thought was great. They didn't spend a lot of time on that, but that was a good place to do it. Then, now my whole, my own, and I understand it was a plot device, but I found that a little too coincidental that this guy who's running from the police. I mean, that's a small criticism, but it had to set up.
And he happened to be in jail for 7 years.
That's right. I mean, remembered the guy who he saw in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? So that was a little, but I get why, because to set up what happens at the end, that needed to happen.
Right.
But again, would his plot have worked had that guy not seen him? So to me, the whole premise is he knew at some point they were going to get caught. That's why he was laying this plan down. He didn't know somebody saw him, but he knew eventually they were going to get caught. So I
Yeah.
think he said the first movie took place in 2015, right? And he
13.
started befriending the writer in 2016.
Well, no, but the actual date was the 2013, I believe. October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Or
Okay,
1st and
13
2nd,
or it was either 13 or 14.
Yeah, so he befriended the writer in 2016.
2016, yes.
Right.
And then because it took a long time to develop the relationship with the actor. So to me, like when I'm watching the film, and I first of all, I like all the actors in it, and the fact that they brought Taboo back and her husband. I thought that was a great scene when he came back. He wanted the remnants of the son.
Well, he's the one sympathetic character.
That's
and
right.
You got to remember too, we're rooting for somebody who killed somebody.
Well, that's something. You're rooting for someone. He didn't do it, but he covered up a murder.
His family,
right?
Yeah.
He covered up a murder. So the fact that and he said at the beginning, you don't want the hero to go to jail. He kept saying that.
Well, the whole movie was set up right at the beginning when he's talking to the writer.
That's right.
So
and
the meta, it was meta of this film being the film that they're talking about.
Right. Well, that's
he's
right.
Basically explaining this film.
And that's when the throwaway line about the books that he wrote just to get the copyright, and there's only a few of them. Well, okay, fine. That didn't resonate. Now all of a sudden it's like he read, and it was funny because when he did I did find it. Well, okay, wait a minute. We're jumping all over the place. So the first hour and 15 minutes, it's a very slow burn because they're introducing new characters, and the guy who plays the new IG was great. Terrifying, calculating. I really loved him, but I felt like, to my detriment, I go, the first hour and a half was just like the first movie. It was like, okay.
I didn't feel that at all. I did.
I
engaged.
felt like the way it slowly went, and it's like they introduced the family again. I go, we've already seen this.
Well, yes and no, but you're right. They were introducing all the other people.
Yes,
in that hour and a half.
But that's why I was like, okay, because the whole time I'm watching it, he's not going to get caught, or he's not going to go to jail for it, right? You know that, but you don't know how he's going to figure it out.
Right. That's the whole.
Right.
That's the whole beauty
because
of this
he's
film.
so much smarter than everybody else, and
Even
they
though
keep
he's illiterate.
undermining. They keep underestimating him. So the first hour and a half, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I was like, okay, it's some new characters, but it's really the same thing. Then when they hit you with his actual plan, I was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Because I was wondering when he did the confession, and once again, they're beating up his family, which is a hard scene to watch because now they're a little bit older. So he was being a little rougher with them.
Girl's having a seizure.
And he's like, sir, please don't, sir. Yeah. But when he did his confession, he was so stoic and so monotone. And I was like, that's kind of weird the way he did that. He wasn't overly emotional, but it didn't really, I wasn't think he was planning something. Because as this is happening, I'm like, okay, well, they've got the body. They dug up the body. They've arrested him. They've got an eyewitness. So there's really no way for him to get out of it, right? So I wonder what he's going to do. At one point, I thought maybe he was going to break out or something, So
remember, there's a throwaway line, too, when they found the bones. They said, we're going to take this back to the lab. But until the DNA comes in, we don't know who it is. They kind of dropped that. There was
they said, all we know is it's a boy between 10 and 20.
That's right.
But we don't have the DNA.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. When I knew. That's when I said, okay, it's not going to be that kid. Now it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to. Now I wanted to see.
See, I didn't catch that. I caught it, but it did. I didn't connect it to it.
Right.
So when the writer came in and started talking about the book, okay, then all of a sudden I went, oh no. And then they played the recording of the passage from the book, and it was exactly the same during the courtroom scene. I was like, this has been a plan all along. And I thought that was...
but again, okay, two more things I want to talk about. But again, I don't know that writer's motivation. Was he just not into... he just wanted to tell the police that this guy is a murderer?
I think he was an honest man who did... Because remember, the other thing that Vijay did was the book wasn't in his name. It was in that writer's name.
Right.
And all the bills, everything that was paid for was under the writer's name.
True.
So he pulled something off the writer too.
Right.
That he figured out now.
Right.
That's why he was kind of confessing to the police.
Vijay's kind of, he's like an anti-hero. It's a weird person to root for.
You would think like if this really happened and he got caught, and I don't know the Indian justice system, but it almost sounds like it's involuntary manslaughter. You know, this kid tried to hurt her, and she wasn't trying to kill him. You would have thought maybe, okay, they'd get away with that. But because they didn't, and they went covering this thing up, and it's always the cover up, right? It's always the cover up that's worse.
Right.
But he's brilliant. I mean, that's the thing about that. Even the IG, you know, who's playing chess with himself at the beginning, and Taboo was, you know, she wants him dead, basically. You know, I want to put them all in jail, and I don't blame her.
I don't blame her.
Right.
I mean, even though her son was kind of a dick, you know, she's the mother, and she has no closure. And like I said, her husband's the only sympathetic character through the whole thing.
And all he wanted was to do the ritual and have something
and move on. Now, okay, I want to call out the two people playing the neighbors who are also undercover cops.
Yes.
I thought they were great. Not in a million years did I think that until
Same
they
here.
walked in. And I just love the female version of those two. She was great. I love the look. How she
and
changed
she was
the whole thing.
actually, she was a little sympathetic to the wife because she called her sister when she was talking to the cops, and he got mad about that.
Yeah.
And she goes, no. But you're right. I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, that was
and then
a good move.
you know, all the bugs in the house. But it also tells you Vijay must have anticipated that, because one of the things he kept saying is, we can't talk about it in the house. We won't talk about it in any detail.
Right.
And the wife had a big mouth. I mean,
well, I mean, she gave it away.
Yeah.
But he had to have he anticipated everything. So he
That's right.
anticipated that too. There's no way that his family was going to hold it together, especially
right.
with the woman having seizures, and you know, the guy that evil cop who every dog has its day.
Who was the only one that was right.
I know, ultimately. Now, here's the question.
Yeah.
He's given the remains to the family.
Yeah.
And they have that ritual for their closure. But Taboo's character now knows that he had the bones all the time. Now, he acid washed the bones, I guess, is what he did when he poured
he acid washed the original
real bones. Yeah, the
one he put in the pit.
Right.
Right.
So they're all gone, but he did give them some. It looked like bone, but also they must have crushed it to make ashes for their thing. I don't know
what I think happened. Yeah.
But she still knows that he did it.
Yeah, but I think the way they played that ending, where she went from being angry to breaking down and crying,
that was
like
her release.
It's over. Yeah, it's over. Because all they ever wanted after the first one was they just want to know where.
I understand. They wanted to know
because they knew. I mean, he admitted it to them that he won't be coming back. You know, they just wanted the closure that I think he ended up, and he didn't have to do that either. But the scene where they walk by each other and he won't even make eye contact with them, because you know he's a good man, right? Who is ashamed about what happened and what he has to do, because as a parent, he knows what they're going through.
Well, his whole goal was protect his family at all costs.
That's
which is what he did.
Yeah.
So yes, in that way, he's a good man. We didn't even talk about that he became a movie producer too in the middle of all this.
Producing this story.
Right. I guess this was the only thing he was working on, right?
That's right. And nothing under his name. And he owned a movie theater. And again, they're watching a movie, goes, no one's going to like this. The hero can't go to jail.
Right.
So you knew that's why you knew. I mean, he wasn't going to jail. Yeah. But that last hour or so, again, where everything comes out, I just freaking loved it. And I was like, yeah, he outsmarted them again. And you were like, how's he going to do it? How's he going to do it?
Well, even when he outsmarted all of us.
That's right. Well, that's right. Including his own family, because they didn't know.
Yeah.
And when she's getting him, please tell me where the body is, and they're listening, the cops, I was like, he's going to tell him. He's going to tell her, and this is it. I have to listen to my mind and my heart.
Yeah.
My mind says no, and she's crying. So I just thought it was great. Really,
the weakest thing in the film was how they set up the beginning. That was the most coincidental. That character's going to remember, or he's going to turn and try to get the money. But still, I don't know how else you could have. I mean, I'm sure there's a zillion ways you could have done it, but you know, that's the way they chose, and it was a fun scene at the beginning. That was a pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
shot
I think
and all
that's really my only criticism was that it was just too coincidental.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, if that person didn't see him, would his plan still have worked? That's what I don't know, because then there was no eyewitness.
Well, ultimately, like you said, he knew eventually he was going to get
Right.
caught, especially
and I
with
think
Super
that's what
Cop.
everything was based
With
on.
Super Cop on the trail.
Yeah,
You know.
and who was great, by the way.
Yeah.
I really liked him. And
He was
the
good.
old guy in the diner there, he was there. From
Well,
the
the whole
first
thing
one.
with that diner becoming everybody's learning all the information
Yeah.
at the diner.
What else?
And all the cameras he had set up.
Jose,
was
his
back.
comic relief was back,
Yeah.
who I thought
Yeah.
was funny. What else?
I mean, just
audience doesn't want to hear to go great. Oh, there was great music. This had great music in it, building the tension of that last scene, especially when they kept going back and forth. This has really got me curious to watch the other version. Drew knows how to pronounce this. Malayalam.
Okay.
That people are telling me that that's a better version because the lead, the lead actor is more of an everyman than this guy is.
Both of them.
Part
my
one
cat
and
just
part
knocked
two.
a bunch of stuff down in my house.
Who did?
My cat just knocked all. He's very mad.
Yeah,
at me,
same guy did part one and part two, but he's supposed to be much more an everyman.
I would like to see those versions of these films. As much as I love this version, it's interesting because that one was done first. Those are the originals.
Yeah,
These
and
are copies of that.
same story.
Yeah,
at least that's what I read. You know, when I read reviews of both of them, and they're saying this one's shorter, and they compress the timeline a little bit than the other one. But I would like to see it.
What? Oh my God,
this was
shorter than this one. This is
this was 2.5 hours, right?
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, for these movies, that's pretty short, actually.
Yeah. Unlike this review.
Like this review, and that's just about time's up too. But so would you say, we usually say, well, people don't like it anymore. But
I don't know why they don't like that. Is that
because they're sick of Amir Khan? That's why.
Oh, here, well, we'll do it anyway. It's your show.
Zuby do or Zuby don't.
So would you give it Zuby do?
Zuby do or Zuby don't?
I would say absolutely Zuby do. 100%.
Me too.
I loved it. I loved
Listen,
it.
if you like the first film, you're gonna like this film.
Yeah, and it's a good it's a good sequel, even though it really is just one long film.
Right.
And you just stick with it. It's satisfying to see what he
definitely
pulls
pays off. And
yeah.
I love thinking about, well, how's he going to get away with it?
I was getting a little upset because I'm like, oh, these like the cemetery guy and the security guard. I said, did I fall asleep during the first one? Because I don't remember these people.
No, they weren't there.
And did I fall asleep during this one? Because I don't remember these people. And it turns out, they're all new. They were new, and
they had small. Both of these guys had small scenes near the beginning with him. So
in
there were
in this film.
Yeah,
of course.
But then with the flashback, you see the whole relationship.
No, I understand. Once they explain that, I go,
but you thought
been setting this up for years.
They weren't from the first film.
That's right. I thought they were the way he was, paying off the grave.
No.
I keep calling him the grave digger because ultimately that's what he did.
The
grave robber.
Right.
And
the old guy was from the first film. Remember the old guy they talked to? Yeah, he was from the first film.
Well, also the guy behind the counter. The guy.
Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier. The diner guy. And then the guy's being a jerk to him again with eating the eggs. That bad cop. He was really good too. But yeah, I really like this movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. And I know I said this at the beginning, but I'll say it again. Between this show and the big show, we hope we've earned your subscription. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button. As always, smash the like button because it does make a difference in the algorithm. I do not have a choice yet for the next 10-minute review, so maybe I'll do a poll on that. I'm not sure. But as always, I really appreciate you guys watching. Ralph,
can I suggest something as the producer of the other show?
Yes.
I think you should just change the name to 10ish. Just change the name.
I've been saying
literally in the thing. Change the name.
You think I should say it in the title?
I think you need to because I've watched these. They're not 10 minutes. It's frustrating.
No, but some of them are. Some of them are. In fact, I had a timer going, but I didn't do that today. And you listen, for you who don't know, Ralph is the brains of this whole operation.
The brains.
He's the guy that gets everything going. He produces it. And the big show is much better looking than what I'm doing. But I'm trying to do this without getting him involved because he's got a full-time job and he's busy. So that's why I'm trying to make it easy for him. So it might not be stylish like his.
Well, you get more views than our show.
Well, but that's because I'm dynamic. Anyway,
it's your whatever.
What?
Dynamism. I can't say the word.
That's okay. But I appreciate you coming on, and I hope that you'll do this again with me sometime.
Anytime.
Okay, I appreciate that. And
bring
guys,
me on anytime. Anytime you need to get more views, bring me in.
You got it. And as always, if you have any suggestions, put them in the comment section. Just try to make sure we can watch them here. Okay.
You're not talking to me.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience. Didn't you see me looking right at the audience?
Okay.
So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on 10ish-Minute Movie Review. Thanks a lot.
Good. Bye.